Gareth A. Davies, how are you, my man?
I'm very well indeed, sir. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Can't complain. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. We've had a great weekend of boxing. There's more boxing this weekend. We're in a good space. But as we always do, let's not go without what we normally do every week. Where are you? What have you been up to?
Well, I'm in Dubai right now. I'm covering Crypto Fight Night on Thursday as lead presenter. An amazing launch on a 60 million super yacht last night. How the Other Half Live, incredible 140-foot yacht.
Wow.
NFT Kid and Michael Heck the Snack headlining here. It's always great to be here and do the crypto fight events. Dubai is 35, 40 degrees right now, and it's midday. Really looking forward to doing this week. But in the last week, really, excuse me, apart from flying out here yesterday and doing the launch on the yacht in the harbour, it has been all about Benn and Eubank, with a little bit of Dubois and Usyk thrown in. I spent the whole week in and out of London at all these set pieces. That's been my life for the last week. Inwardly digesting all of it with some very mixed views about things. So, and obviously we'll get into it as we digest it all. But front, middle, and centre was Eubank and Benn last week. All four of them, if I can put it that way. How about you?
That's a good way of putting it. Watching brief for me last week.
Yeah.
Did a little bit of talkSPORT, and then just had my feet up and was a fan. Just a very, 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 very upset. Let me not pretend. Very upset fan watching it from a distance. It turned out to be an incredible spectacle, and it's okay watching those things at home, but just to be in the midst of it is something special. So disappointed that I wasn't there. Because it turned out to, as I said at the top of the show, exceed, I think, all of our expectations. What we 2.5 days removed. And I know I'm going to leave my house and go to the gym, and everyone's still going to ask me questions about Benn versus Eubank. So it was sensational, honestly, incredible. I mean, you've been to some big ones. Is that one of the best you've been to?
Yeah, the atmosphere, like you say, because you had a sense of what the atmosphere was like. You've been in some big occasions already in your career. I think in terms of atmosphere, in terms of ambience, it was just extraordinary. And it was given a boost, like a WWE moment when Eubank Senior, when the doors opened on the limo and there he was in his woolly mammoth coat. It was... When the walkouts happened, it was brilliant. The other 8 fighters delivered. The arena was full, fairly on. It's such a beautiful stadium with banked crowd.
Yeah.
When it's full, it's just extraordinary. What it must be like to play football in the middle of that pitch when the crowd's going crazy. It must be out of this world. But the atmosphere was one of the best I've ever experienced. And I mean, on a par with Anthony Joshua against Vladimir Klitschko at Wembley Stadium, which was a very special night, and on a par with the biggest Mayweather fights. I just think it was very, very special. Like you said, it was a mismatch from the beginning, but it's a mismatch that's delivered.
Yeah. You mentioned WWE and referenced Eubank Sr. And I tweeted that the scriptwriters of professional wrestling would have been proud of that moment. You were at the Eubank Senior, Michael Watson, Nick Blackwell walk a week and a half ago now. So I'm so confused with the Eubank Senior. Was it WWE all this time, or did he have a change of heart at the very last second, or was he always going to go and he was just fooling us with those rants? I'm still trying to work it out in my head.
Well, I spoke to him, didn't I, for talkSPORT afterwards. And he said, suspense. We were keeping you all in suspense. But when I spoke to him, or when I was harangued by him on the walk with Michael Watson, the vehemence with which he was against the fight made them... your mind feel that he was suggesting he would never, ever be there and that he was too concerned about it. I think it was an 11th hour decision. I mean, obviously there's these stories doing the rounds that Turki Al Sheikh intervened and got him there as well. I'm sure he did help. But however it came about, and there's a degree of hypocrisy here because I can't work out whether he's covered all bases. He would always have been there for the love of his son, he said, and it was an amazing moment. And he let his son have the limelight on the walkout. Apparently, he wanted to get the music changed as well. He spoke to Majestic, didn't he?
He did.
But everything they did, they staged it beautifully. I remember one moment when I was thinking, is Eubank Sr. going to upstage his son here on the walkout? But I remember Chris looking over his shoulder to see that Dad was there on the walkout, and I loved that moment. And I thought he was about to tear up, Eubank Jr., that his dad was there. And I don't think he knew the dad was coming till the last few hours. You?
Yeah.
You?
Same. I having watched those interviews back, so I went and watched back the seconds out interview, the IFL TV interview, and as good as an actor as I think Eubank Sr. can be, I don't believe that was acting.
No.
I believe he was genuine in his distaste for everything that was going on. And I'm with you. I think it was an 11th hour swing. I think it was a change of heart. It could have been an intervention from Turkey. It probably was a last minute call from his son, maybe other family members that we're not aware of, senior family members got involved. But I'm happy he was there because that moment, watching it on TV, that moment when the door opens and Eubank Jr. comes round and they get out of the lift and then it shows Conor and Nigel watching it was the best moment I've ever seen in my life. It was Hollywood movie stuff.
It was.
So I'm happy it came to fruition. All right, let's get to the fight. I saw your vantage point. I saw where you were sitting. So I'm just going to hand it over to you in terms of how the fight went and the score. 116-112, I think, was two judges. And was it 115-113 the others, or was it 116-112 across the board?
Unanimous. And it's exactly how I had it. And I looked at their scoring and I agreed with them on 6 of those rounds. They agreed on 6 of the rounds. The way I saw it was this. I gave Eubank the first round. Ben came strong for 2. I mean, from that opening bell, as they stood there in the middle on that tiny 18-foot ring and they let punches go, Eubank threw the big uppercut early on, I think, the second round, and it flew past Ben, and you went, whoa! Ben was spectacular early on. He was fast, aggressive, and for me, he made the fight. He won the second and third. The next 5 or 6 were close, but Eubank took over. Ben came back a little bit in the 9th and 10th, and then the 11th and 12th, Eubank won the last 2 rounds for me. I had him winning 8 rounds to 4. There were a couple of swing rounds in there. 7-5 I wouldn't have argued with. A draw I wouldn't have argued with some people as well. So it was close enough, even though I felt that Eubank definitely won. The action was unrelenting. Eubank's legs went a couple of times, but I think it was fatigue. I don't think he was truly hurt during the fight, and people have pilloried me for that. I think he was battered by Ben, who never gave up. But towards the end, Eubank found a second wind, and you could tell he was the much bigger man in there. But he gave everything. They both gave everything for 36 minutes. It's amazing they both stayed on their feet for the entire fight, especially given the slippery surface as well. That was extraordinary. It was edge-of-your-seat stuff from first to last. A classic fight of the year, and there were rounds of the year in that fight as well. That's how I saw it.
Yeah, I haven't seen a fight for a long time where it's a 36-minute sprint. And that's kind of felt like what I was watching. I was watching these guys go at it for just... They barely took their feet off the pedal.
Yeah.
It was constant. And I probably got carried away in the moment, but I said, I don't think I've ever seen a fight as good. Like, it was almost a throwback to what we used to see in the 90s and 80s coming out of America with Getty and Ward, where they just don't let up. And I remember thinking, Conor has to get tired here. And there were times where he clearly was a bit tired, but he then found something again. It was almost like the egos and the pride kept these two men on their feet because, as you say, both of them were shattered. They were both hurt on several occasions. The size was very apparent.
Yeah.
Like Eubank's back was massive. Like he's taller than Conor by 2 or 3 inches, but he's so much wider as well. And I think the size helps him because there were times when he pushed Conor onto the ropes and started unloading. And Conor couldn't really respond because he was just a smaller man. He tried to spin away a couple of times, but ultimately size, means something. But I just felt like both surprised me as to what they were able to give. I didn't know both were able to give that much, especially Conor, because we've seen Eubank in big fights. We've seen him get hurt and come back. We haven't seen Conor really do anything, really. So I was so surprised he was able to take Eubank shots and so surprised he was able to have that much stamina, especially considering he was at a higher weight class.
14 to 16 pounds heavier he must have been, Chris. They were both in fantastic condition. For me, Ben made the fight. He made it by the tenacity that he brought to it, the fact he never took a backward step. Because Eubank doesn't fight like that generally, or not this iteration of him. Earlier in his career, when he was a terror against Nick Blackwell, at that period in his career, against Billy Joe Saunders, this drew the best out of Eubank. I thought Eubank believed, and he told us afterwards, that he thought he'd knock Conor out in the first 6 rounds, but realised that Conor wasn't to be denied. So all those things you say, I agree with you. It was special because it took your breath away so many times, that it was non-stop action. It was a street fight. It was a brutal street fight, and they showed the marks of that afterwards, both men. They went to head and body relentlessly, frighteningly so at times. That will have taken a lot out of Chris Eubank, and that will have taken a lot out of Conor Benn as well. It was an amazing fight. It was a mismatch, as I say, in the beginning, because there's weight divisions for a reason, but it delivered in droves.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, it was perfect. It was one of those where whether you bought the pay-per-view or were lucky enough to be in the stadium, you got your money's worth and then some. Like there were no complaints whatsoever. Look, there has been a lot of talk about the rematch. I think Turkey said in a few interviews that it's done or it's at least signed and the stadium's sort of booked for September or October. I'll be first to say that I don't want to see a rematch, not because it won't deliver again, but I've now seen it. Chris needs to go up in weight. Conor, if he can, needs to come back down in weight. And I think we should go from there. Like, I do not want to see Chris try and make 160 again. Not even with the rehydration cap. I just want to see him at 168 if he wants to continue boxing. And if Conor can make 147, and on the official weigh-ins at 156, he looked very healthy. So I feel like he can drop it a bit. I think he should go and try and challenge himself with the big guys at 147. What's your thoughts on a rematch?
I'm with you on that. I mean, I've already committed a column to the Telegraph. On the night, on the way home, I tweeted an all-time classic. Both men delivered. Maybe a rematch down the line at some point in the future. Agreed with 8-4. And I'd put a caveat there now in that covering the event on Sunday before I flew here to Dubai for Crypto Fight Nights, I was very concerned about Chris Eubank being in hospital for 36 hours with chronic dehydration on an IV drip, his vitals being monitored, the state of Conor Benn afterwards when you watched it as the dust settled. And my feeling is that, and I think I'll be wrong on this and prove wrong because I think they will have a second fight. If Turki Al-Sheikh puts up 20 million odd, they'll fight again, and they will. But I think Conor Benn should go down and fight Mario Barrios for the WBC title. I think he can easily make 147. I think Chris Eubank should go up to super middleweight. Because otherwise, if they do get him to drain again, I do genuinely worry if they went through another 12 rounds like this, and they could well do it because of, as I say, the tenacity in Ben. He will not be denied. And Eubank's going to have to go through a horrible weight cut again, and he's going to be damaged again, as he was for this one. So ultimately, if they are going to do it again, I think they need to give Eubank more weight for the weigh-in and not boil him down so much, because I think it will happen. because I think there's too much money on the line for them not to do it. And I don't want them to do it. Well, I say that, part of me does, but I do worry about his long-term or even short-term health. But for now, and again, this is a dichotomy, because Ben goes back to 147 and wins a world title and then comes back to 160. You can't yo-yo like that either. So does he stay at 160 for now and fight Eubank again in September, October, and then go back down, or will that be too long at that weight? There are lots of things to work out very carefully here. Ultimately, I think I'd like to see him go. If I had my way, I'd like to go and see him win a world title at 147. And I think he's shown world-class qualities on Saturday night.
Yeah, the thing with me, and firstly, look, you're right. It's a big money rematch. Everyone would tune in again. Could be bigger numbers considering now how that first fight played out. But I actually feel there are so many big money fights for Conor at 147. Like, get the belt off Barrios, and I think Conor's more than capable of beating Mario Barrios at this stage of Barrios' career. But then you look at those kings that you continually mention in America. Devin Haney's now 147. Ryan Garcia, 147. Teofimo Lopez is going to jump up there. Those are huge fights for Conor.
They are.
Like, financially, massive fights. America all know Conor now because of this fight. They've all been tweeting about the fight, so I feel like he's okay. And Eubank wants the Canelo fight. Whether or not he can get that, I don't know, but that's a big money fight. So there are big money fights out there for both, where they can both be healthy and both still get exactly what they wanted from the fight game. So I don't know, man.
But there's not 10 million in that fight for Conor against maybe there is 10 million. Maybe I'm wrong.
Against Ryan, there is.
Maybe
against Ryan, there would be.
Yeah, to get Ryan to come over here even, because he's so well known. I think a fight here, that works here. Maybe that is a 10 million fight. It's a fight I'd love to see, by the way, as well. When you think of those silhouettes moving now, Conor bringing it all like he does like that, boom, and Garcia's power. Yes, please. They got to get through the weekend first, though.
You're right.
Rolly Romero first. But I agree with you. That's the route we'd like to see them go. And yes, Canelo's a bit tied up. William Skull this weekend. I know we're going to come to it. Terence Crawford in September. Hamza Shiraz is being lined up to fight him if he can beat Edgar Berlanga. So the more difficult journey is for Eubank right now, because I don't. So even though he's the victor,
and that's the bigger concern. I mean, his face blew up like a balloon on Saturday, and I could see it. Jamie Ward did a great job doing the interviews after, and I was like, as Jamie's talking to him, I'm looking at his face, and I can see there's a problem there.
Yeah,
I can see he's concussed badly.
He didn't sweat during the fight. Even he didn't
sweat. That should be an indication to people. And what Gareth's trying to say is that there is no water in his body.
Yeah,
like he's not hydrated enough. So it's just far too dangerous. I mean, yes, we all want to make a bit more money, and we all want to be in these legacy fights, but not at the risk of proper damage. And look, some will say, come on, Ade, these fighters know what they're signing up for. And okay, fair. But get to 168. You're going to be 36 soon, dude. Get to you were 168 a decade ago. You can't go backwards in weight. So I feel like he should be getting to 168. Hamza Shiraz is there. Edgar Berlanga's there. Caleb Plant's there. As you say, Canelo's there. There's so many big fights from at 168. And let's see what you can do there. We can stay with this all day, but we have got to quickly get to the undercard very quickly as well. Who stood out for you more, Aaron McKenna or Vidal Riley?
I was very impressed with Vidal, but I felt that I picked him to win. I mean, I remember having not a row with Chev Clark, but Chev was a bit put out on when we did the Fight Night podcast after the weigh-ins, and I said, I see it as you as a puncher against a stylist. And he said, no, I'm the stylist, but I don't agree with him. I think Chev needed to make it a dogfight. But Riley was very slick and didn't allow him to. Chev will come again. He's a great character, a brilliant personality, a very powerful man. And you could see how disappointed he was in his own performance on Saturday night. But I thought Riley was brilliant, frankly, because Chev is so dangerous. His timing was on. The jab, he got the command as respect. He let the left hook go, the right hand go. And I thought he was brilliant. But this young kid, McKenna, I mean, I'll let you talk about him, but he's got something about him. There's no doubt about it. A middleweight.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, I thought Vidal would cause Chev problems because, as you say, one's a brawler, one's a slick boxer. But Aaron McKenna, I thought Liam Smith would get to him. I thought maybe this night could be a bit too much for him. Liam has the experience. Yes, it was a case of what's left in Liam, but Liam would always find a way. And that was a shutout. And then he nearly got the stoppage right at the end as well. Not many people knew of Aaron McKenna. They all know now. Very big for the weight, very wiry, but carries a bit of power.
And spite.
He says,
and spite.
And spite.
He got
right?
warned several times for being dirty during the fight as well. And I don't want to say I love that, but I kind of like that about him, you know?
Yeah. You said Chef Clark will come again. Will Liam Smith?
Liam will have a long, hard think about it. I mean, I remember watching his father, Paul, and Callum and Stephen all there with concern etched on their face. I can't, Liam took a big body shot, didn't he? And took a knee in the 11th or 12th. And he did
seem to be problems with his ankles as well.
Yeah, well, he has had that problem. I mean, that second fight with Chris Eubank Jr, he had problems with the foot, didn't he, and the ankle. Again, he's 36 as well, going 37 next. He's had a fine career. And I think he'll probably think long and hard about where he goes from here. He wanted a rematch, or he wanted a trilogy with Eubank if he was victorious. He'd mentioned that. He might not want to bow out like that. He might want one more fight in Liverpool, I suppose. But it was a passing of the torch. It was definitely a passing of the torch.
Yeah. All right, you're listening to Fight Night Extra on talkSPORT 2. Still to come, we are going to preview a massive weekend. We've got Canelo Alvarez, Naoya Inoue, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, and Teofimo Lopez all in action. But up next, though, we're going to talk Usyk Dubois and hear from the pair of them after they stop by the talkSPORT studios on Monday. Welcome back. You're listening to Fight Night Extra on talkSPORT 2. Ade Oladipo, the great Gareth A. Davies. All right, it's signed. The rematch of the big heavyweight showdown that took place in Poland a couple of years ago will now take place at Wembley Stadium July 19th, not July 12th as many thought, July 19th. I am talking about Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois for all the marbles in the heavyweight division. Every single belt will be on the line. What did you make of this? Obviously, look, Joseph Parker's been the man on the outside looking in, and some thought that he could somehow get in the mix. Somehow, maybe he fights Dubois, maybe he fights Usyk. But it is, for me, number one versus number two. Daniel Dubois has been on an incredible run. It is a shame we didn't get that Joseph Parker fight, so we could definitively say, yes, you are number two. But I think he's deserving of this rematch, and it's a fight that I actually can't wait for. I think it's going to be an incredible fight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that, because the big white elephant in the room was that February 22nd fight that didn't happen with Joseph Parker. And there's been a lot of kind of consternation around it from fans and a lot of noise with people saying Parker deserved to fight Usyk because he dealt with Martin Bakole, that is, on 48 hours notice. But now we're here. Yes, very excited about it. This is a different man in Daniel Dubois, who fought Alexander Usyk in August 2023. As I say that, because I checked with you in the break, was it 2022 or 23? It's not even 2 years ago that he fought Alexander Usyk.
Crazy.
And what a transformation in the man. A brilliant fight against Jarrell Miller that kind of... He learned from the first Usyk fight anyway, and I know we'll go into it. He learned that when you got your opportunity, you got to take it. You should have jumped on him in that fifth round and the sixth round, because I think he had Usyk hurt. Not underwriting the great man here to a great extent, because Usyk is brilliant. He's that weird, brilliant lefty that maybe will never be beaten. But the turnaround of the Jarrell Miller victory, the Filip Hrgovic victory, the evisceration of Anthony Joshua in front of 90,000 people in 5 rounds, and are you not entertained? He's not that diffident young man anymore. He wears the clothes now at ringside. He brings his brother with him.
Yeah.
There's a bit more statement about Daniel Dubois, and you cannot write him off in this fight, even though I still make Alexander Usyk quite a big favourite, Eddie.
Yeah, no, Alexander Usyk is, I agree, a clear favourite, but I gave Daniel Dubois zero chance when he went to Poland. It was his first mini camp with Don Charles,
Yes.
right? That was their first fight together, and they hadn't even been together that long. So I didn't give him any chance. I give him a chance this time round. A 25-30% chance.
I'm completely with you. 75-25. Absolutely right.
Yeah, and that's something, and that again goes to show that the U-turn or the swing that he's had in his career. My only concern is you mentioned the run of Jarrell Miller, Hergovich, and AJ, and that run all came in sort of a space of like 14 months. By the time this fight rolls round, he'd been out the ring for quite a long time, and I almost feel like activity was his biggest key, like staying busy, staying active. It's been a bit of a gap now, and I do wonder about that. I think Usyk's used to that gap. At this stage of Usyk's career, he's used to fighting once every year, whereas Danny Dubois is not. Any concerns about this little gap that Dubois had, or at this stage of his career, this age, he's just good to go?
I think he lives the life. I mean, look at him physically. I don't think he does a lot outside spending time with the family. Stan, the man, his dad, obviously keeps a very close eye on him. They're a very tight unit. I mean, remember, this is a kid that at 5 broke the Guinness World Record for press-ups and used to do them for 2 hours by the time he was 10 and wasn't allowed food and water till he'd finished them. The extraordinary story of Daniel Dubois' youth will be made into a movie one day if he wins the undisputed title. The first British fighter to do so since Lennox Lewis 26 years ago, remember? So he's got the opportunity to enter the lineage and pantheon of the greats. So I think he's a very ambitious young person, even though he doesn't give a lot away. I don't think he will worry about inactivity because I think we know what he's going to do. He knows he targeted the body of Usyk in the first fight. And even though it was quite a one-sided fight in terms of scoring and he was stopped in the 9th round, I will never forget the concern that was etched on Usyk's fight about, I've got this guy with 2 big, strong hands in front of me who's advancing. It wasn't a bad performance by Dubois. There's lots of positives to take out of it. And I think he'll go in there and try and put it on Usyk. It's going to be a fascinating fight from the moment the first bell rings.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. The guys came face-to-face at Wembley Stadium on Monday, and Daniel Dubois did a little push and shove on the great man, Alexander Usyk. Usyk's reaction was interesting as well. This is what Usyk had to say about Daniel Dubois shoving him.
Listen, this is show now. Fight we 18 July.
19th of July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it just show. For me, doesn't matter. Listen, I prepare 22 years for this business and the boxing.
Alexander Usyk always calm, and it's great. I always find it great now that he speaks English. I feel like we get a completely different side of his personality now. What did you make of that push from Dubois? I don't know if you've seen it. I'm sure you have.
Of course.
It's so out of character, but I guess this is the new Dubois now that we're living in his world.
I think someone said, give him a shove. The way he did it wasn't like, I'm going to do this. It was like, oh, I think I ought to do this. It had a bit of, give him a shove, Daniel. And when he did it, it was almost like, oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. Because it didn't elicit, there was no venom to it. And it didn't elicit any venom other than the stance from Usyk when it happened, and very concerned security guards who weren't expecting it.
No, you're right. You're right. It's almost though someone has said, look, you need to kind of give him a little something there. He didn't really want to. I think he respects Usyk quite a lot.
Spot on.
Didn't really want to.
Yeah.
But he thought, okay, I'll go ahead with it. Let's hear from Daniel Dubois, the current IBF heavyweight champion. This is what he had to say about the potential fight upcoming with Alexander Usyk.
I can say a million words about it, but I feel it. I'm ready. Everything that's happened to me over this from the last time we fought is a lot of pain, a lot of built up anger and everything. So I want to just dish it out and, make sure that I come away with all the belts and do it in London. That'll be special, to be the first unified champion in London, England. So that's what I'm about, creating history.
Daniel Dubois, they're talking about unleashing a lot of pain and anger from the first fight. Very, just to be clear on this, low blow or not low blow, I feel like we need to kind of just get this out of the way now, because I feel like people are going to continually talk about this low blow or not low blow until the fight sort of hits July 19th. Was it a low blow?
Well, the picture that Alexander Usyk produced on the White and Jordan show shows that he hit him right on the cojones. Did you see him produce the picture of them? And it took him about 5 minutes to find the picture, of course, while Jim was talking over the top of it because he had to. I scored it a low blow. I reported it as a borderline low blow at the time. I thought Luis Pabon was within his rights to do so. I completely angered Frank Warren, who barely spoke to me for 2 months afterwards. But I'm sticking with it. I thought it was borderline low. And I thought it was the right decision at the time. I thought Usyk milked it a little bit when he went down. I remember thinking all these things in the moment as well. And my mind hasn't changed since. But what Don Charles and Dubois had clearly done was come up with a plan of targeting his body, using it as the kryptonite, and it won't be any different this time. So we may get controversy again because he's certainly going to go for that area. It was below the navel for me, and it was a low blow. Ade, how were you on it?
Same, low blow, low. But I also think Usyk, as you say, Usyk took the full 5 minutes. The full. And, you see a lot of fighters decide, okay, look, let's go. I've seen fighters get hit with low blows all the time, and they shake it off in about a minute. Less than that some. Usyk was like, nope, I'm feeling the pace here a little bit. I'm going to take the full 5 minutes. And I think what Don Charles and Daniel Dubois and his team should take from that is when you see someone like that hurt, jump on them.
Yes.
And I think that's the one mistake they didn't do.
Yes.
When he got up, they kind of just didn't jump on him. And you got to jump on him, and they failed to do that. This more experienced Daniel Dubois, I think, will go for the kill now, as he has done with Hrgovic, as he has done with AJ. There'll be no fear. He's not fighting in Usyk's backyard now. It's Daniel Dubois' backyard. The crowd, they love Usyk, but it still will be for Daniel Dubois. I can't wait for this. Honestly, I think it's going to be fascinating. And to think that Daniel Dubois can become undisputed, and not AJ, not Tyson Fury, Daniel Dubois is incredible.
What a journey, though, when you consider that he was called a quitter by luminaries like Carl Frampton and David Hay for when he fought Joe Joyce in lockdown. And he was hurt in that fight. He took a knee with a broken orbital socket. When you think that he's turned his career around from that first Usyk defeat as well, it's a brilliant story. It's a brilliant journey. And if he does triumph,
wow,
I don't know whether there'll be a rematch with Usyk. There probably will be. But he's got the opportunity afterwards to take over the division. He's been with Frank for 10 years. Frank invested in him at the age of 18. He's always believed in him. And I think it's testimony as well to the promotional qualities of Queensberry and Frank Warren for the way he brings fighters through. He will have literally taken him from an organic amateur, won the seniors, all the way to undisputed champion. And there's a lot to be said for that in this day and age.
Agreed. I couldn't agree more. One person that Frank had for nearly a decade as well is a certain Mr. Tyson Fury, who begins to tease us, continually teases us. But this time he's taken it up another notch, even more so than Tyson Fury could do. He's posted a video of him in the gym and Sugar Hill Steward next to him. And he says, we're back. And I as soon as I saw that, I wanted to message you immediately and say, Gareth, what is going on? What do you know? Because I was almost resigned to the thought that he isn't coming back, that he's okay. Him in Paris are going to just sell off into the sunset. I think he would have seen the Ben Eubank thing on the weekend and thought, you know what? I need a bit more of that. I need one more go at that.
I think you're on the money. I mean, I've been speaking to his team for weeks, and they all suggest still that he's not ready for a comeback. I think the Anthony Joshua fight is still there till the late summer of next year if they want to do it. After that, I think the end of next year, that fight's dead. It's been too long in the waiting. I completely agree with you. I think he got excited seeing Ben Eubank. But the fact that Sugar Hill Steward was there and he's getting in a bit of shape, and his face looked like he'd been training as well. But my indications are that he's not ready to come back right now. This is talking to people behind the scenes. And I think we're more likely, and you and I have mentioned this on the show, to see Anthony Joshua potentially fight Deontay Wilder first, just to tee up and get that generational fight out of the way. And then Joshua, if he wins against Wilder, of course, which I think he will, then Joshua and Fury step into the ring. And I tell you what, that's going to be enormous when it happens. It'll be same atmosphere as Benn and Eubank. There'll be a lot of excitement, Eddie.
On the Sugar Hill thing, and again, you can clear this up for us. When I see Sugar Hill around Tyson, it makes me feel like there's a fight camp, as opposed to Tyson just sort of ticking over with someone holding pads. Where does Sugar Hill live? Does he live in America or does he live up in Morecambe?
No.
If he lives in America, it makes me feel like he's traveled over because he's not really training anyone else in that camp. So I'm of the thinking he's traveled over to start a fight camp, or am I reading too much into this? Like Sugar Hill doesn't live in Morecambe, does he?
No. They'll be toying with the idea. I think they're toying with the idea in the background of him coming back. And it does take. This is why you're on the money. When Tyson watches an atmosphere like that, I was half expecting him to be there on Saturday night. By the way, in the VIP seats, because I had a spectacular little passage when I got Gordon Ramsay, Ashley Walters, Declan Rice, and someone else, can't remember now who, because it's terrible if I can't. Oh, Dizzy Rascal. There were a lot of celebrities there, and I was expecting and hoping to interview Tyson for talkSPORT on Saturday night and get the definitive. I maybe have been sent a curveball by his team. Maybe he is back.
He's back.
If Sugar Hill's there, it signals something.
Yeah, there's something going on. Unless he's there for Soccer Aid and they're throwing us another curve.
Yeah, and he's getting him in shape for that, you know?
That would annoy me, but I could see that as well.
We are not going to end our visions and broadcasting of this era without Fury and Joshua fighting. They have to fight.
Yeah, they do. All right, you're listening to Fight Extra on talkSPORT 2. Next up, we're going to look ahead to a huge weekend in America and Saudi Arabia. Welcome back. You're listening to Fight Extra on talkSPORT 2. Ade Oladipo, the great Gareth A. Davies. Gareth, 3 big fight cards on the weekend. Are you at any of them? Are you going from Dubai to Saudi for the Canelo card?
No, I'm coming back for loyalty for talkSPORT. I'm back on Friday afternoon, and I will be doing fight night on Saturday.
Wow.
Best way to cover
I'm actually shocked to hear that.
Cards, for me, is being in the studio doing it. Because Canelo's 6 a.m. in the morning in Riyadh. It's a late night. If I could have chosen to be there... Times Square. Absolutely, off the charts. Yeah. And then nip to Vegas the next day for a little chat with Noya Nui after... Well, we'll come to what I think about it in a minute. But what about you? What are you doing?
None. I am going to Saudi for a meeting, but not involved in any of the fight cards this weekend. So it'll be a watching brief for myself as well. But like you, if I had to choose one, it's definitely, like without a shadow of a doubt, it's Times Square. I just want to see how this works. I want to see how it looks. I mean, I'm so intrigued by everything. Hopefully the weather's good. If they got a bit of Dubai or I dare say London weather right now, then they're on the money. I'm just scared that it rains. And that kind of just ruins everything, doesn't it, for these outdoor events? That's why they're always very risky. But let's jump straight to the Times Square one first. Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero. Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez. Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza Jr. What a fantastic free fight card.
It is, and I expect one of them will... Well, there's 3 big favourites here with the bookies. Garcia, Haney and Lopez are all massive favourites. But look how good Arnold Barboza was against Jack Catterall. If Teo has an off night, or he's got out of bed on the wrong side, as if he's got out of the wrong side of the bed on Friday morning, and he doesn't box like he can to his great abilities, Barboza is a very dogged fighter, and I could potentially see an upset there. Devin Haney, for me, beats Jose Ramirez. Haney will have a lot to prove, and of course, if Ryan Garcia, back from his ban, beats Rolly Romero, we're going to get Haney and Garcia again. And I cannot wait for the rematch.
Yeah, I think, I'm with you. I think there's an upset somewhere. I almost feel like all the numbers aren't going to come right here. Like, I don't know where it's going to be. I'm actually, for some odd reason, I just Devin Haney coming back after a year out of the ring as well, and after a beating. Where's he? Mentally, physically, emotionally, I don't know where he is. But Barboza's looked good. Barboza beat Ramirez, Latino night. He beat Jack Catterall. And we've seen Tio. Tio sometimes produces 10 out of 10 performances, and then sometimes there are 5 in there somewhere.
Yeah.
He often chucks in a dud, whether it be against Sandor Martin, against George Kambosos. He can't afford it. He's been talking a lot during this build-up. He can't afford a dud. Someone's losing. I don't know who. I don't know where my money is going to go, but one of these big boys is losing. And then plans get scuppered, and then we'll see what happens, see what Turkey comes up with. But it's going to be a good night of boxing, though.
Absolutely. And like you say, the staging of it is the fascinating thing. And like you say, the weather's going to be really important. There'll be a canopy over the ring, of course, but have I heard
150 VIPs?
Yeah, did I dream this? And the VIP, did I dream that they're going to get 2,000 people there or not? Or did I read that somewhere?
Well, I've heard it's 150 VIPs in terms of just seating. So only 150. So I'm guessing NBA stars, musicians, artists, whatever. And then it's just going to be Times Square, just people wandering in and around it. So it could be 2,000, could be 20. I'm guessing people just walk by and stop and watch. This is why I'm so upset I'm not going. I'm fascinated to see how it all works. Like, where are the changing rooms? Where's everyone going to be? I have no idea how this plans.
Must be porter cabins on site, or maybe they just walk them out of one of the hotels across the road.
Maybe
shot off the road. I remember when Barack Obama was voted in. I was in New York. Am I talking 2008? I think that's right. Joe Calzaghe was fighting Roy Jones Jr.
Bernard? Oh, right. Okay.
Then that week. I think Obama came in on the Friday or the Thursday, and I was in Times Square for that, and there were people everywhere. So that's my recollection of what it's going to look like. People just massing, the roads closed. They must be closing the roads for 3 or 4 hours, in my view.
Wow. Wow.
It's going to be extraordinary, and it'll all be on the big screens on the skyscrapers around it as well. So it's going to look amazing. It's going to look immense. Well done, Turkey, pulling it out of the bag to do that.
Agreed.
But like you say, to be in one of those VIP seats on Friday night.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't even want to guess the cost of those. All right, so that is Friday in America. Saturday, early morning Saturday, I think this is. I'm trying to work it all out in my head now. Canelo takes on William Skull, undisputed fight in the super middleweight division. Obviously, Bakoli versus F.A. Jagba on the undercard. No talk of F.A. Jagba. It's been Bakoli. Not much about F.A. Jagba. Bear in mind, one of them's coming off a knockout defeat. So maybe we should be focusing on the Jagba a bit more. And there is the rematch between Jaime Munguia and Bruno Saras as well. So that's actually a good card. Some good names on that card as well. Are we completely writing off William Skull here? Because no one, we've already moved on to Raiders Stadium for Canelo versus Crawford. Like, William Skull was just a speed bump in the road.
Yeah, by the way, I think it's Sunday morning Riyadh time, 6 a.m., 4 a.m. UK, prime time Vegas and New York. That's how they're doing it.
Wow.
God knows what time you get to the arena in Riyadh for a 6 a.m. fight. So it's a bit of an odd one.
Yeah.
I don't know if my circadian rhythms could actually deal with that. You'll be there, so it's going to be an odd one, really. But I don't see an upset. I see William Skull being stopped. Apparently, Conor Benn, according to Nigel at the press conference, had a tear up with William Skull and was dominating. Sparring talk, of course. Upsets do happen in boxing. The most important thing is Canelo is taking this guy seriously. He is a genuine world champion, so we shall see. But I've got Canelo winning by late stoppage in that one. And I think I see Bakoli winning in the mid-rounds against F.A. Jagba, because they both like to throw their hands and they're both big punchers. But don't write a Jagba off either.
Yeah, indeed. And the final card in Vegas, Inoue versus Cardenas. It's great to see Inoue in America. Obviously, they've got big plans for Inoue. Obviously, this will be for the undisputed super bantamweight championship of the world. Inoue likely to go up to featherweight if he gets past Cardenas. And Rafael Espinoza versus Edward Vasquez. That's a really good fight. WBO featherweight world title there. Inoue back in America.
Yeah, Ramon Cardenas, 25-0, 25-1, sorry, he's lost once 8 years ago in majority decision, never been stopped to Danny Flores 8 years ago it was, in a 10-rounder. Never been stopped. So here's an opportunity again for the monster to notch another fighter who he stops. I think he will, mid to late rounds. I think he's an incredible fighter. And again, it's fan time. It's a chance for Inoue fans to go and see him in the flesh. He's been in Japan for the last 4 years fighting. So, again, it caps off an incredible 3 days of boxing in what is an amazing period for the sport at the moment.
Yeah, honestly, truly is incredible. Before we go, very, very quickly, I know time's against us. Big card announced July 12th. Obviously, hence the reason why Usyk Dubois has been pushed to July 19th. Big card in America, July 12th. Hamza Shiraz jumping up to 168 pounds off that draw. Many thought it was a defeat, but it was a draw on the record books against Carlos Adames. He fights Edgar Berlanga, who's on it? Zepeda versus Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah, great fight.
Puello versus Subriel Matias. Yeah. Honestly, great fight card. Very quickly on Hamza going to 168 and going straight to Berlanga. I mean, that's ballsy. That's a big move going straight to Edgar Berlanga, whose only defeat obviously is the Canelo Alvarez.
I spoke to Hamza at ringside on Saturday night and to Adil as well, his manager. It's a really, really good fight. Hamza said he was killing himself to make 160 pounds. The extra 8 pounds makes him he already looks like a more filled out human being. Berlanga is very dangerous, heavy-handed, aggressive, but he's very hittable as well. And I think Hamza's got to be very precise in this fight. It's a very dangerous fight for him. He could easily come out the wrong side of this fight. There's massive risk and massive reward in this fight. And if he comes out on top, he becomes a name in America because everybody knows Berlanga because of his fights with Canelo, his fight with Canelo, and the fact that he delivers. It's a spectacular matchup, but a dangerous one for Hamza.
Yeah, very dangerous. All right, you've been listening to Find It Extra on talkSPORT 2. Big thanks, as always, to my man Gareth A. Davies joining us from Dubai. Enjoy Crypto Fight Week, or enjoy Crypto Fight Night, which is what, Thursday evening?
Thursday evening at the Rami Dream in Troy nightclub, I think it is.
Boy. Remember, if you've missed any of this show, you can listen to it as a podcast. Find it under the Fight Night banner on the talkSPORT app, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast from. We'll be back with you next week.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.